Alex Pereira, also known as Poatan, is a Brazilian mixed martial artist and former kickboxing champion with a remarkable story of perseverance and success. Born on July 7, 1987, in São Bernardo do Campo, Brazil, Pereira left school at the age of 12 to help support his family financially. He found work in an auto shop, a setting that exposed him to a grueling daily grind and the pervasive drinking culture among laborers. His early struggles led to the development of a drinking problem, which he later overcame after discovering kickboxing in 2009.
Chama.
Alex Pereira's fight against Dustin Jacoby took place at Glory 15 Istanbul on April 4, 2014. Despite Jacoby being a well-known fighter with experience in the sport, Pereira dominated the fight, securing a knockout victory. His powerful striking and aggressive style were on full display, showcasing his lethal knockout ability. This fight propelled Pereira into star power on the kickboxing scene. One of his defining moments came in 2016, when he defeated Simon Marcus to win the title for the first time. This was a close fight that ended via unanimous decision. This victory began his reign of dominance in the middleweight division. Pereira briefly lost the middleweight title to Jason Wilness, marking a temporary setback in his career. However, Pereira quickly rebounded, reclaiming the title in a rematch against Wilness later that year. Pereira solidified his legacy in the sport, becoming a two-time Glory middleweight champion. Alex Pereira's rivalry with Israel Adesanya began in kickboxing, where they faced each other for the first time on April 2, 2016, at Glory of Heroes 1 in Shenzhen, China. On paper, this fight was a closely contested bout between two elite strikers. The fight was highly competitive, with both fighters having moments of success. Adesanya showcased his fluid movement and diverse striking arsenal, while Pereira relied on his heavy hands and aggressive combinations. Despite Adesanya's strong performance and ability to control much of the action, Pereira was awarded a unanimous decision victory. The decision was controversial, with many fans and analysts believing that Adesanya had done enough to win. This victory laid the groundwork for a heated rivalry between the two. The controversy surrounding the decision added intrigue to their eventual rematch, which took place less than a year later. The second fight between Alex Pereira and Israel Adesanya took place on March 4, 2017, at Glory of Heroes 7 in São Paulo, Brazil, Alex Pereira's hometown. Adesanya started strong in this bout, using his superior movement and precision striking to control the fight's pace. At one point, Adesanya delivered a flurry of strikes that earned him a standing 8 count against Pereira. However, Pereira remained resilient and composed, biding his time for the right opportunity. The turning point came in the third round when Pereira landed a devastating left hook, his signature strike that knocked Adesanya out cold. This knockout was not only a decisive victory for Pereira, but also marked the first time Adesanya had been knocked out in combat sports. This fight remains a key moment in their rivalry, further fueling the narrative when the two later transitioned to MMA and eventually faced each other in the UFC. Israel Adesanya's public remarks played a key role in reigniting their rivalry and motivating Pereira to make the leap into mixed martial arts. Adesanya mentioned Pereira in an interview, stating this.
The same guy now he watches all my fights, and every time I fight, like clockwork, he'll try and put something out like, I beat this guy. But I've never ever watched any of his fights, ever. So at the end of the day, no one knows who the he is. And he's gonna be that guy when I'm world champion, when I'm a legend. He's gonna be at some pub, talking some shit about, I beat that guy one time, trying to get a dick sucked from a crack whore.
Alex Pereira's UFC debut at UFC 268 against Andreas Michailidis was a striking showcase. Pereira displayed his knockout power early, securing a TKO victory in the second round with a flying knee that dropped Michailidis. The win solidified Pereira as a serious contender in the middleweight division and fueled excitement about his future in the UFC. Alex Pereira faced Bruno Silva at UFC Vegas 50 on March 12, 2022. Both fighters brought impressive records into the cage, with Silva entering the fight on a 7-fight win streak. Pereira started with his usual aggressive striking, landing kicks and punches, while Silva responded with strong left hooks and forward pressure. Pereira demonstrated his ability to defend against takedowns, but was briefly tested when Silva scored a takedown in the first round. Pereira earned a unanimous decision victory, with all three judges scoring the fight in his favor, 30-27. His next fight against Sean Strickland at UFC 276 on July 2, 2022, was a highly anticipated matchup, given Pereira's explosive rise in the UFC. From the start, Pereira looked composed and aggressive, using his striking to set the pace. Strickland attempted to engage with Pereira, but it was the Brazilian who controlled the exchanges. Pereira landed a powerful left hook that knocked Strickland down, and before Strickland could recover, Pereira followed up with another right hand, which prompted the referee to stop the fight at 2:36 of round 1. This fight was enough to qualify for a championship fight with rival Israel Adesanya. Alex Pereira faced Israel Adesanya for the first time in the UFC at UFC 281 on November 12, 2022, at Madison Square Garden. Adesanya, the reigning middleweight champion, was on the back foot for much of the contest, though he looked composed and seemed to have control through most of the bout. Adesanya dominated the early rounds with his superior footwork and striking, showing his usual elusiveness and landing key shots. He kept Pereira at bay, using his jab and defensive movement to avoid significant damage. However, Pereira remained patient and aggressive, constantly pressing forward, looking for an opening. The fight shifted dramatically in the 5th round. Pereira found his rhythm and landed a powerful left hook that rocked Adesanya. As the round progressed, Pereira unleashed a flurry of strikes that ultimately led to Adesanya being dropped against the cage. The referee stepped in to stop the fight, awarding Pereira the TKO victory at 2:01 of the final round, making him the new UFC middleweight champion. Alex Pereira's rematch with Israel Adesanya at UFC 287 on April 8, 2023, was highly anticipated, as it was a chance for Adesanya to reclaim the middleweight title he lost to Pereira in their first encounter. In the rematch, Adesanya came out with a clear game plan. After some initial exchanges, he started to show his superior footwork and timing, staying elusive and avoiding Pereira's dangerous strikes. There was plenty of bad blood leading up to this fight, with Pereira winning all 3 of their previous encounters. Pereira, however, remained aggressive, as expected, looking for his moment to land a fight-ending blow. Adesanya's defense and striking were on point, and in the second round, he took control. He landed a perfectly timed left hook that rocked Pereira and followed up with a series of punches that ultimately led to a knockout victory at 4:21 of the second round. The win was monumental for Adesanya, as it allowed him to regain the UFC middleweight championship and avenge his previous defeats to Pereira. For Pereira, this marked the end of his reign, but he was not done, as he aspired to conquer the light heavyweight division. While Pereira had been successful at 185 pounds, the intense weight cuts took a toll on his body. The added stress of cutting nearly 20 pounds in a single day was draining, and his body needed a break from the constant weight management. Pereira continues to impress with his striking power and has already expressed excitement about not having to make drastic cuts. Training with the seasoned Glover Teixeira, who recently defeated former champion Jan Błachowicz, boosts his confidence as he prepares to face him next. Pereira ultimately wins the bout via unanimous decision. Alex Pereira's rise in the UFC reached new heights when he won the light heavyweight championship, facing Jiri Prochazka. He won via TKO with a controversial stoppage. He then went on to defend against Jamal Hill and easily won via first-round knockout. Due to the controversy, a rematch with Jiri was inevitable. It was a close first round, with Pereira finishing him via head kick in the opening moments of the second. His most recent defense was against Khalil Roundtree. They went to war for 4 rounds, but ultimately, Pereira finished him with a body shot in round 4. Pereira's next fight is rumored to be against Magomed Ankalaev, another formidable contender in the light heavyweight division, marking the continuation of his remarkable career. His astonishing wins in short time in the UFC undoubtedly cement him as one of the greatest of all time.